Hey, it's Ben Ennis. Springtime means Jiffy time. Jiffy's the only thing I need to get my home ready for spring, for unexpected repairs, and I've got a few Jiffies planned for some bigger outdoor projects. I booked my window cleaning, yard cleanup, and barbecue cleaning Jiffies in less than 2 minutes and already have 3 quotes for my new deck. No wonder they call it Jiffy, and I know I'm getting the best pros with Jiffy. Download the Jiffy app or sign up at jiffyondemand.com with the code FAN590 for $25 off your first job. Jiffy, fast and reliable home maintenance.
Hello and welcome to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Make sure you find the Raptors Show wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe, and please rate and review the show. A reminder, we're streaming live on Sportsnet's YouTube channel and airing live on Sportsnet 360 Monday to Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. I'm your host, Wayne Liu. I'm joined by producer and co-host Alex Wong. I'm so hyped up. The 4 basketball games last night are just masterclasses, especially the last 2, which we will focus on the bulk of today's show. All right, we're not going to talk much Raptors because, to be honest, the funniest thing to me right now online is everybody making this about the Raptors, which, I mean, obviously I'm guilty of this too, but I had to take a step back. The morning after, I looked at my mentions and I was like, what am I doing here? This is not about the Raptors. Like, no one's thinking about this. We don't need to draw comparisons to this. We need to focus on what is actually going on right now in the NBA. 2 of the best games that I've seen all season. And congratulations to both the Golden State Warriors, who we will have Andy Liu, friend of the program, on shortly, but we had to bump him back because of the other game, because congratulations to Jason Jackson and the Heat culture.
The Navy SEALs, baby.
The Navy SEALs, they did it. All right, they parachuted down into Milwaukee and they ripped their hearts out once again. The Bucks, I think, were up 16 with, like, especially heading into the fourth quarter. And then all we saw for the entire fourth quarter, where they shot 3 of 19 from the field and in overtime, is just 17 minutes of a team, a championship team, really, just like they just wet the bed for 17 straight minutes, and they just had to lie in there and wait until Jimmy Butler eventually put them out of their misery. What a performance. Alex, how you doing, man? This is the longest intro I've ever done, but I was just so hyped up about the game.
Yeah, I was hoping you were just going for a whole hour, man. I was getting kind of comfortable. You know, the 16-point lead you mentioned, that was the largest comeback in a game entering a fourth quarter in a series-clinching win in NBA history. And this was the 6th time that an 8th seed took down a number 1 seed, and this was the first time in a best-of-7 that they did it in 5 games. And I cannot think of another series that ended with a role player named Grayson Allen in the middle of a Euro step, and then the clock just expired.
Bro.
Like, when the Heat jumped on the floor, I first thought that maybe Bud had used a timeout or something, and they were just going to a huddle. Like, the game just ended. The game just ended, and you saw, like, you know, Giannis at the end of regulation, like, he really struggled from the free throw line. Like, they had that jump ball at the end. Like, he didn't want the ball.
Yo, he literally threw the ball away. This guy threw a chest pass to Matt Weiner on the side calling the game, man. This guy saw Brendan Haywood and was like, here you go, Brendan.
And I think as Jimmy was starting to dominate in that fourth quarter, you could just see the Bucks, like, wilting. Like, the energy in the building, just the whole team. Like, they just felt so scattered from the players to the coaches. But, I mean, we're going to talk about Giannis in a little bit, but Jimmy Butler, man, the 56 in game 4, followed by the 42 yesterday. Like, I actually can't think of in recent memory, like, a better back-to-back playoff performance from a player. And then you
about the whole entire series? He's been excellent the whole series.
But these 2 specific games, if you look at them, and that final play, which now goes into, you know, Heat culture history too, because Spo talked about after at the end of regulation, he was drawing up a play. And Jimmy basically said, no, like, you know, this is what's going to happen when Drew Holiday guards me. Just throw me the lob and I'm going to make it count. And he did.
Yeah.
And then he walked back to the bench and was, like, talking trash to the crowd, telling them that it's quiet. Oh, man.
Okay, a couple of things.
Yeah.
Number one, the Heat as a whole did really, really well. Like, I mean, this is one of those games where obviously Jimmy led them. You need that character who is obviously going to be the best player on the floor. He's going to inspire the rest of the team. He's going to come up with the tough buckets as he did time and time again. But you need the rest of the team effort, right? You need Gabe Vincent down 4, runs up the floor and just pulls up for 3 to make it a 1-point game. He doesn't make that shot, that whole sequence doesn't happen, right? You need sequences like Kevin Love cashing all those threes, right? You need sequences, where just like Max Strus, who I think, what was Max Strus shooting from the 3 last night? Because I feel like he wasn't.
So Max Strus had 8 points, 2 for 4.
Yeah.
From 3.
2 for 4 from 3.
Gabe Vincent gave them 22 points.
When he pulled up for that 3, and then Giannis had the brain fart and closed out on him and fouled him. Like, we're talking about a general team effort that also helped supplement what Jimmy did. But I think there is just something when you're watching these playoffs, and it's kind of undeniable. To me, it's like the big takeaways are like, you need somebody who has absolutely zero fear of the moment whatsoever, right? Like, I think so much of, especially when you come down to these elimination style games or these games where you feel like if you don't win this, the series is over, like it was in Game 4 when obviously the Bucks lost that one as well. But when you get down to these really, really tight moments, who is actually willing to push your team over the top? And that's something that, you wouldn't ever really see in the regular season. You won't even see at the start of a series, but when it comes down to these like pivotal moments, you can see who really truly has it. And like, man, just watching Jimmy, it's been inspirational. I think even just as a casual observer, obviously I don't like the Heat, I don't dislike the Heat, they're just there, right? But to me, when you watch it, there's no way you can see this team and not see how they play with this force and this fearlessness. And I think they almost like the fact that they were underdogs in this series. Because I think it really allowed them to, just go all out. And, man, Jimmy Butler is just an all-time playoff performer. There's nothing else you can say. This guy was looking at Drew Holiday, who every single player is like, who's secretly really great? Who's really underrated? Who's the best defender in the league? Drew Holiday. This guy's looking at Drew Holiday and saying, you just can't guard me. And I'm just saying that in a very PG-friendly way. The whole fourth quarter and overtime, this guy is trash-talking all the players in the league consider as the best individual defender.
No, he broke that team. He broke that team by himself. And I'll go ahead and say, like, this is the most impressive individual performance in a playoff, like a series like this, since like prime LeBron. Like to be an 8th seed. And I told you this last night too. Like, I still think the Heat have the worst roster of the 16 teams that made the playoffs. And I know you talked about the contribution that they got from the other guys, but like for Jimmy to just overwhelm a number 1 seed, overwhelm a player like Giannis and all of this, like this might be the most impressive first round upset ever. Like this has to be up there.
Yeah.
Like you can make excuses about Giannis being out, but Giannis came back these last 2 games and it just nothing mattered. And they came back both times in the fourth quarter.
Yes.
And to do
double
it,
digits. Yep.
to do it on the road too, in a game last night that everybody expected the Bucks to win. They were 11-point favorites. Everybody thought Game 6 in Miami was going to be the game. Like, man, I don't know, man. And a lot of talk about Bud after too, right?
Oh, of course.
The non-use of the timeouts.
Oh, Coach Bug, my favorite. This nothing makes me feel like 2019 more like Mike Budenholzer, man. Let's go. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, Bud at the end of regulation. There's only like 0.5 seconds left on the clock, but like you got to use a timeout there.
Okay, friend of the program, Assad Alvi, who does the slander pods. I know a lot of people last night were hitting him up, be like, slander pod? I'm like, yo, relax. It's 1 a.m. I need to sleep. This is not the Raptors. But I appreciate it, right? So Assad actually went through the video and pointed this out. So you know how coaches, usually at the end of games, they'll stand like near the scorer's table rather than sitting on the coach's bench, right? So he's actually quite separated from the assistants. Now, assistants can run over and walk over or whatever. But after the shock of the fact that the Bucks, first off, they got tons of very friendly calls in the fourth quarter, that alone might have gotten them over the edge. They got some very friendly calls, okay? So they're up 2. And they have to defend for, I think, 2 seconds. And, Jimmy Butler obviously makes that play. It's a pretty standard play. But I think what was clever about what the read that Jimmy made was that he was the biggest player in that scenario. So what you had was the Heat had somebody in the backcourt. I think they put Duncan Robinson in the backcourt. That's the funniest decoy of all time. What were they going to do inbounding to Duncan Robinson 70 feet from the hoop, right? They had Kyle Lowry at half court. They had somebody else, I think, actually, no, those are only 2 guys on the floor in terms of not involved in the inbound or the actual play itself. And the play itself was actually just, I think Strus set a back screen for Jimmy Butler around like the paint and it sort of just curled off of each other, right? So there's 4 players in there, 2 offensive, 2 defensive. The 2 players for the Bucks were Connaughton and Holiday, and obviously there's Strus and Jimmy Butler there. The genius of that play, usually if you throw lobs to centers, Jimmy is the center in that scenario. Who else can actually catch the pass the way Jimmy can in that scenario? And I thought the Bucks actually did a decent job of staying connected to him and still like relatively affecting the shot. But again, that's where size truly matters in that scenario, right? He's essentially a center in that specific play. I think obviously if you were Bud, maybe you think back on it. It's like, okay, maybe I put a center near the basket to take away the option for the lob, because he did take Brook Lopez out of the game. But I wouldn't even blame him. Just a great play design by the Miami Heat, whether you want to say it was Spo or it was Jimmy Butler. However, when there's 0.5 seconds left still, you could see that one of the assistants was actually running over from the Bucks, being like, Bud, you have a timeout. You have a time. And Bud's just standing there. He is just standing there watching their team inbound the ball and not get a shot off, which, like, whatever. 0.5 seconds left, you're probably not going to score much. But you know who also made a shot with 0.5 seconds left? OG Anunoby. You can at least get a sequence off. You can at least run a play, and your coach is literally just standing there frozen. His assistants, I have them sprint over the distance of like those 4 or 5 like courtside seats, being like, hey, sir, do your job. So they didn't know that. That's already such an egregious mistake. Like, so egregious. And then you fast forward to overtime, whatever. Like, a whole bunch of Miami Heat players foul out, like Bam's out of the game, like Kyle's out of the game. Like, they finished the play. You know who made the final contest on Grayson Allen? It was Haywood Highsmith.
Oh my guy.
You know what I mean? This guy sounds like an Indie 88 like artist. Like, it's wild who they have on the floor. Cody Zeller's on the floor for them. And in that sequence, Miami's still able to take the lead, but obviously it's a 1-possession game. And again, there's 10 seconds left in a 2-point game. And sure, you might say, like, okay, maybe you run up and see if there's a transition advantage. First off, when is there ever a transition advantage on the last play of the game in that kind of sequence? Obviously, Miami was back. Second of all, once you see there is no transition advantage, you need to then take the timeout, right? And whatever, Giannis had the ball, he's dribbling against a guy, maybe you kind of liked it for a second. As soon as he turned his back, you take the timeout. When he made the pass, I don't even know who he passed it to.
It was to Middleton, and then it swung to Grayson
Didn't
Allen.
have an advantage. You take the timeout. Like, and the whole time he didn't do anything, to the point where Grayson Allen ended up with the ball last second. Euro steps into a shot clock violation.
Yo, the clock just ended in the middle of his move.
Is that the worst coaching performance you've ever seen, though? Like,
yeah, and this is the most embarrassing ending to a playoff series. I actually challenge anyone like listening or watching to like submit other playoff series endings. Like you mentioned, at any time during that possession, within those 10 seconds, like even towards the end with like 3 seconds left, he could have just called a timeout. Yeah. Like, even when the ball was in Grayson Allen's hands, I think at that point you've got to recognize that the play is already broken down.
Yes.
You know, you don't want that's not the guy that you want, you know, to have the ball in that situation at the top of the key. And like Bud was asked about it afterwards, and like he seemed to just like realize afterwards that he should have called timeout at the end of regulation.
Yo, the wildest thing is, even when you listen to the NBA TV broadcast, first off, that has to be the best NBA TV game ever.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Adam Silver messed up again yesterday, man. How we got 4 games yesterday and 1 game today, man. Holy. I'm unsubscribing from Disney Plus when he joins.
Even the play-by-play announcer, as the sequence was happening at the end of regulation, was like, why did they take time out? What? Because you know what I mean? Like, there's roles, right? The play-by-play is going to describe what's happening, and then the color commentator comes in and gives you the analysis, right? The play-by-play guy was even like, wait, the script is not happening.
No,
what are you doing? We've seen every other coach, a high school coach in this scenario, should be fired for making that mistake.
No. Like, it makes me think back to remember the Raptors-Celtics game earlier this season when I think Gary had the ball late in the game, and then Nick, like, called a timeout, I think, when they had an advantage, right?
That was a 4-on-2 fast break.
Yeah, so, like, situations like that, but times 100 because your team is facing elimination in the first round, and you made a mistake both in regulation and you had a chance to correct that in overtime. And like the kind of lowest bar for a head coach in the playoffs is to just manage the game. Like, forget about the X's and O's, you know, all of that stuff, like drawing plays out of timeouts. Like, you have to just manage the game and put your players in a position at the end of games, right? Because the players out there, and that's the onus is just purely on the head coach. And for Bud to mess it up twice, it's like, I don't think how he can come back from this. And like, Giannis had a lot of eye-opening comments after too, talking about that they just didn't make enough adjustments in this series, right?
They were asking him like, hey, would you have wanted to guard Jimmy Butler? And he was like, yeah. And this has been pointed out so many times in that, like, throughout Bud's coaching career. Like, when he was with Atlanta, he got swept by LeBron and the Cavs.
Against Toronto, they, obviously lost 4 straight after going up 2-0. And we've seen this pattern over and over again. Even in this series, they let Miami take 4 out of 5 and the last 2. Giannis, like, to me, that just screams a team that is not adjusting from game to game, right? Like, once things start to slide, they just keep sliding, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, there's never a team, like, I've never seen, even when they won the championship, like, it's rare for me to think of a scenario under like Bud's coaching tenure here where they've been able to have a coaching advantage in any playoff series.
There hasn't been one.
Right.
Like they succeed in spite of him.
Yeah.
And I think that there's 2 things that can happen, right? One, you can set up I've always thought this about Bud, but you can set up a team really well. You have an amazing like A strategy. Like, let's say Bud is essentially, as a coach, he throws 102 miles per hour. All right. Like many teams will never catch up to that fastball, and he will blow them out of the water. They're going to be great in the regular season, and then you get into specific matchups against specific hitters where if you don't have a counter, you don't have a changeup, you don't have a curveball. Like, what are you supposed to do to get that person out? And I feel like for the Bucks, like, they always just throw that fastball, and when they get hit on that fastball, when someone starts to get up there and starts to like actually foul those pitches off, he has nothing else. And that's the thing. It's like, yes, you could say, well, he didn't call a timeout in regulation. He didn't call the timeout in overtime. How about the fact that he blew 2 double-digit leads back-to-back games? You know exactly what's going to happen, right?
He didn't call a timeout in the last game, too, when they were making that 13-0 run.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
13 straight points at the end, too.
He is just, yeah.
Like, the players got to own some of it, obviously.
Absolutely.
Obviously, but it's like you can't have this, like, huge glaring hole. At the head coaching spot.
Time after time. And also, by the way, I've seen a lot of people being like, oh, man, what if Nick Nurse took over Milwaukee? Man, go ahead.
I don't want to see Nick in Milwaukee, though.
Go ahead. Honestly,
I think that's a pretty... I mean,
the
that's
only person thinking about this is Raptor fans.
But that's a pretty attractive job, man. Like, I know the roster is aging and everything.
All right, cool.
Still got Giannis. I think it'd be interesting, too, if Bud gets let go. Nick obviously got fired. And then the following year, Frank Vogel won a championship with the Lakers. He's gone. Bud won a championship the year after. He'll be gone, too. I think it just speaks to the cyclical nature of this league too, right? Like 3 championship coaches are going to be gone. Giannis had some interesting comments too, but let's get to that in the second segment.
Let's do it.
I believe we have a friend of the program and the most wanted man on the Raptors show, Andy Liu, joining us on East Coast time. Andy, what's up, man?
My guy, I feel like you. I feel like you, except I'm in the middle of nowhere in Tampa, but I'm happy to be on, man.
Oh, word?
Oh, what are you doing in Tampa, man? Can you share?
You know how it goes, man. My uncle's out here. He's, I'm just chilling with him, doing nothing. 90-degree heat. Some guy walks by, yells some racial epithets at me. It's great. I love it.
All right. That's heat culture, baby.
He definitely popped his 2 p.m. brew. All right, here we go. Yeah, that's actual heat culture.
That's my guy, man. Andy, I don't know if you've been hearing this, but I just keep saying you got that rice in your veins. I know you can't see the stream right now, but I'm tapping the vein, like D'Angelo Russell style. That's you. You got that rice in your veins, man. How you doing? You're good?
You good? I got that in the DMs. I'm stealing that, by the way.
No, it's all you, man. Andy, the Warriors going into Game 5 last night. Was there any doubt in your mind that the Warriors were going to win Game 5?
No doubt in my mind, because it's the Sacramento Kings. If you had told me that they're going into crypto playing LeBron, there'd be doubt in my mind. But here's the thing: through 3.5 quarters, I thought they'd win the game. The Kings made a bunch of threes in the first quarter. And the Warriors were still up at halftime. And I said, this is classic Warriors. But you know what also is classic Warriors? The Warriors throwing away a 12-point lead in the fourth quarter of the season. I've seen it about 18 times. So I'm like, okay, maybe the regular season Warriors showed up. They're going to choke this one away, and the dynasty is over. But no, they pulled it away just enough, which is kind of the old Steph, Draymond, Clay, and then you now throw Wiggins and Looney in there. And I'm just sitting here, I'm like, I went from, are they going to choke this away, to number 5, Steph, baby, number 5. You know what I mean? In the span of about 5 minutes. So, it's always, being a Warriors fan is always hilarious.
Yeah. No, I mean, Andy, you say this, but as soon as the Warriors lost Game 2, and I think it was like at least 50-50 that Draymond was going to get suspended for Game 3, the first tweet I saw on the timeline was you being like, yeah, they're going to win the next 4, so it's all good. And I know you believe that. And there's all the reason to believe that, obviously because the Warriors have been obviously just generational team. Okay, Andy, I want to walk through yesterday's game through 4 plays. I want to hear your reaction to these 4 plays, all right? All right. So first play, It's 111, 110. All right, for the Warriors. 4 minutes left. The play breaks down, and Draymond ends up in a one-on-one. And this guy takes a one-legged fadeaway jumper to put them up 3 points. Your thoughts on that play?
Listen, guys, I knew he was going to make it. You know why?
How?
He had already made a corner three, and he already had 19 points. I already knew it was BS. I knew it. I was like, look, this game is fake. Draymond's shooting fake shots. He thinks it's 2016. That baby's going in. And the Warriors are not losing that game because he just made something that I have never seen before from him. Never.
Yeah.
That was his highest scoring game since 2018, I want to say. He had 21 points yesterday.
Yeah, I think they were saying it on TNT, which shout out to TNT for interviewing a coworker. You know? They're just like, hey, Draymond. And I thought it was like calling Chris Haynes. You know what I mean? Like, because Chris Haynes, that'd be like a correspondent. But they're calling Draymond, who I'm like, that's literally your teammate. But I mean, it was like, what's up?
I will say this. Shout out Draymond. Obviously, I love Draymond. Not many people do. But he did the thing where he was the bad guy per usual. Stomped Sabonis, ridiculous. But then he backs it up by coming out here and scoring 21 points, locking up on defense, and winning game 4 and 5. Nowadays we got to deal with guys like Dylan Brooks.
Yeah.
You know, who just he goes at the king, very much misses, still missing. And it's just cool to see someone.
He's old.
I just gotta say, it's just cool to see. Even though Draymond's not a top 10 player in the NBA, very cool to see him actually back up the talk.
I think that's totally true. And I'm thinking too, it's just like, I feel like every time Draymond gets into these incidents, like the stomps, you know, the national narrative is always like, man, is this the end of the run for Draymond, you know, in Golden State? And it might be the case because of his contract, but then it's like, you always see his value on the court, right?
Yeah, of course.
Like, forget about the 21 points yesterday, like you mentioned, like that was just fake. But it's like, you look at, like you mentioned, his defensive impact. And I thought it was really cool too. Someone pulled up a clip yesterday, like last year when the Grizzlies during that series, when they blew out the Warriors, I believe in like game 5 to cut the series to like 3-2.
Oh, when he was waving?
Yeah, he was waving.
Yeah.
And Draymond, and you know what? The other thing is Draymond went to the podium.
Say that on radio.
Draymond went to the podium after and, you know, said that, hey, like if I only come here when we win, and if I only like tease the fans when we're winning, that's front runner mentality. And like, I don't agree with some of the on-court antics from Draymond, but the thing I always respect about him is like, he's always backed it up and he's always there.
Yeah.
Like, he's always there to answer those questions.
Yeah, that's who he is, and he goes across the line too many times, right? Dude, he knocked out Jordan Poole. He knocked a teammate out before the season started. Before the season started, the Warriors were in great vibes. He just knocked them out. Kind of ruined
coming off a chip, and he just punched the guy.
Literally
you know what? It's so chaotic.
They didn't suspend him because I think they didn't want him to miss ring night, right, Andy? Like, it would have been awkward.
Yeah, no, that is why they didn't suspend him, and then made ring night really awkward.
It's just boxing ring night, man.
What a complete mess. And Draymond comes back, and as they say in Dumb and Dumber, totally redeems himself. You know what I mean? He did the same thing game 7 against the Cavs. He had freaking 38 points. I mean, they lost that game, but it wasn't because of him.
No.
So I just
yeah.
I'm going to guess he'll still be on this team the next 4 years because of stuff like this. But it's Draymond Green, man. That's a Draymond Green experience. It never gets old.
Yeah. All right, that's one of the 4 plays, by the way. All right, 3 more plays. All right.
Grab another brew, Andy.
The next play. So it's now 113, 110. This is after Draymond hit the fadeaway. 3 minutes left. Clay is dribbling into a Kevon Looney screen. First off, Clay dribbling makes me nervous, but that's okay.
Yep.
He gets a screen from Looney. Sabonis switches out because he's like, yo, there's 3 minutes left. I got to come out. I don't care if I'm a drop center. I'm going to come out. I'm going to contest. Clay dribbles deep into the corner and fades away with a foot on the line, and Sabonis literally high-fives him on the closeout. Like, that's as good of a closeout you could possibly get, and he just cashes it. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I talked about Draymond shooting being fake. That Clay shot was peak Clay. That game was very much just give me the ball and let me throw it up. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
It doesn't even matter.
These shots don't make sense. Sorry, go ahead.
It doesn't even matter. No. It's like who cares? I mean, you got. I watch Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet make just throw it up shots. You know, in that 2019 finals, and I always bring it up with you guys. By the way, Kyle Lowry making throw it up shots last night against Milwaukee, also hilarious.
He's 3-0 against Milwaukee, by the way. Just to be clear, Kyle Lowry's 3-0.
Yes, we're definitely gonna give Kyle all the credit for this upset.
Absolutely.
Holy, what are we doing, man?
We're a propaganda program, man.
No,
I mean,
but
it was going in. It doesn't. That guy makes no. So here's my take with Clay. It's if you look at history, would you rather have a Paul George than a Klay Thompson? Would you rather have a James Harden than a Klay Thompson? Would you probably rather have the other guys in the regular season? But if you look at me in the eyes, you look at him in the eyes, and you ask me who would you rather have in an elimination game, you need an absolute dog on the floor that will just make shots. Bro, I'm taking Klay over Harden all day. I'm taking him over Chris Paul all day. I'm taking him over PG all day. You know what I mean? Like, he is one cut in those games. I mean, he's probably on that level of Steph where it's just like, if he's on, dude, he's not. He would have had 35 last night if he wasn't in foul trouble.
Yeah. No.
It's insane.
I saw him make a three off a screen where I think Herter like pushed him, or maybe he was trying to sell the contact, but like Klay was like horizontal to the ground and he still made the three. And it's always like swish, by the way. So that's play number 2. All right. We're going to fast forward a little bit. It's 117-114. 50 seconds left in the game. The Warriors are still up, but only up by 1 possession. Obviously, Malik Monk is making every shot going the other way. Steph goes to screen for Wiggins, which first off, like I just expect the ball in Steph's hands. But no, this is the Warriors, all right? We're going to have Steph screen for the ball. Wiggins doesn't even use the screen, all right? He just dribbles out of the screen towards the sideline into a one-on-one. He's got Keegan Murray on him. Murray's playing great defense. Wiggins drives, stops, turns, one-legged fadeaway in the post. Murray is the same size as him, contesting him perfectly, and Wiggins knocks down that jumper. First off, even the audacity for Wiggins to take that shot in that moment, but also do a spinning one-legged fadeaway, like, yeah, Andy, I'm gonna need your comments, man. What's up with your team? Why are they like this?
So the Penny Hardaway fadeaway is that shot. That's who Andrew Wiggins copied that from. We don't see that in the NBA anymore. And interestingly enough, the Warriors took that mid-range jumper out of Wiggins' game the last few years because, according to the numbers, you don't take that shot. I agree. Andrew Wiggins was a mid-range merchant for a very long time, inefficiently in Minnesota, so he took that out of his game. Hilariously, he brought that back in the NBA Finals and cooked the Boston Celtics in Game 5 with that shot, essentially won that series. And then closed this game. That was probably the big. I mean, they're all big shots. I know you're going to talk about another one next, but this was probably the biggest one. 3-point game. Again, they had all the momentum. This was the biggest shot. And guys, remember, he sat out 2 months for reasons still unknown to anyone. But he sat out 2 months and he comes back, plays 39 minutes, and is completely fine. He makes no sense. He's probably. I've always said he's the most athletic guy on the team.
Yeah, of
he's
course.
the most conditioned guy on the team outside of Steph. He doesn't. I don't understand how his body works. I think he didn't play for 2 months, got skinnier, but also is still super strong at the same. I don't understand him. He's a freak. According to like biometric statistical stuff, he is like the most. He is the best, like in shape runner. Like he has perfect form, so he never gets like this stuff where he's just an alien. You know how like ultra distance runners can run 60 miles without breaking a sweat. I feel like Andrew Wiggins can do that. I don't know, man. Maybe it's a Canadian blood in him, right? I don't know what it is. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous that they just found a guy like this. And, he's just their second best player all last season and looks like he's just about back. But here's the last final thing on him, though. He's always going to have these shots against Sacramento, in my opinion, because Keegan Murray's fine. But, hey, he might be going up against LeBron, KD, and then Jason Tatum again. Andrew Wiggins is about keep in mind he signed a contract extension for about 27 million, so he's actually very underpaid. So anyway, what a guy.
Yeah. Also, you guys got him for D'Angelo Russell, which is just incredible, and it's all because Kat was like, "I want my friends on the team." Man, forget your friends. Okay.
Never listen to Kat.
Don't even want you on the team. All right, next one. 119.
Did Kat say it in a high voice or a low voice?
Oh, shouts to Kat, man. That's my favorite. Like, I didn't foul reaction face.
Yeah.
And he's always somehow got 5 fouls.
No, but that's the thing.
Like with 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and then he disappears. Like, I'm sick of that. I'm so sick of him.
Who's the dumber fouler, Kat or Jaren Jackson?
Oh, that's close, man.
Wow.
That's actually a really good one.
I think it's still Kat, though, because I don't even think Kat even makes positive impacts defensively at any time, even outside the fouling. Anyway, last play, 119-114. All right, the Kings went back the other way. I forget what they did. They missed a shot. There's 26 seconds left. There's a 17-second differential between shot clock and game clock. Steph dribbles into a double team on purpose, dribbles out of that double team, then dribbles through the lane. But this is not playing keep away. This is him literally driving into traffic. Harrison Barnes finally cuts him off, and then somehow Steph is just like, oh, all right, I'll just spin back the other way for like a one-handed hook shot. It bounces in and one. Obviously, that completely clinches it. Now the Warriors have a golden opportunity to finish in Game 6. Your thoughts on the greatness of Steph Curry?
I could go for 3 hours, but two things. Number one, the Warriors choked the game against Minnesota because Steph gave the ball away to Draymond at the end of the game, and then Draymond decided to pass it to who knows, and then Cat, hilariously enough, makes a three to clinch that game. Steph learned his lesson tonight, decided to not pass the ball, which is what he should always do. Second thing, bro, he double dribbled. I saw it in real time.
The Warriors cheated again. No way, man.
I laughed so hard. I was like, oh my goodness. He just the ball got caught in his arm. Obviously he didn't try to do it, but got caught in his arm, didn't get called for it, which beautiful, because I always think Steph doesn't get enough calls. So it's great that he got the call there, got the end one. Steph going to the rim is one of the best players in the NBA. He is one of the best finishers in the NBA. I just think we don't talk about it enough. That's it. I mean, he's 2 for 10 from 3 last night. Still had 31 points. Is this the best version of Steph Curry?
Yeah, no, the touch going to the basket, because everyone obviously we talked about it too. It was just like the LeBron shot in Game 4 where he drove at the end of regulation and he put it up super high off the glass and he made it. Steph made that exact same shot. If you look at it, 2 minutes left in regulation, Steph made that exact same shot. So man,
no, I was telling, I was
so impressed by this team.
No,
man.
Andy, I was telling Will before the show too, and I know like nobody thinks like Steph is a bum or anything, but like I am in the camp of just like Steph is still underrated, because like you even look at this series when they were down 2-0, Draymond was out, and Game 3 was a must win. Like, you know, no one was surprised that he put up 36 in that game. And like even a game like yesterday, for him to put up 31, like I think we scrutinize a lot of these big time players so much in these playoff environments, and you know we really get on them when they come up short. And it's like on the flip side, we don't really appreciate Steph. He's so consistent in these big games. Like I'm really trying to think of the last like big game in the playoffs where he's been disappointed. He's been disappointing, and might it be like, I don't know, Game 7 against the Cavs?
Game 7, yeah,
right.
Game 7 against the Cavs when he was just worn down. And by the way, Game 7 they lost by 2 points. Yep. Like they didn't get blown out by 20. They were right there. So yeah, I would say I've never been disappointed in a Steph postseason outside of that Game 7. And I think you could argue that every great player besides MJ has a crappy performance in the NBA Finals.
Oh, yeah.
Like in the NBA Finals, all great players are always going to have bad performances. LeBron no-showed against Dallas, right? Steph, that Cleveland series. So I think you're always going to have that, but we're never going to have, guys, I think 2 dudes in their prime, like Steph and LeBron. Like when it goes to the end, are these guys going to be top? Well, LeBron's definitely top 5. Steph, you could argue top 10. Is this going to be the last time we see 2 dudes that great? I mean, Magic and Larry. I wasn't born, but those guys are top 10 guys. But is it Steph and LeBron? Is there anybody in the next 10, 15 years that you can see if they're going to be at that level? I don't know, man. I don't think so.
Yeah, I have no idea where the league is going to go, because obviously we're just seeing like not the peak of the league, but we're seeing in terms of viewership numbers. Right? I saw in the stats, like I think you tweeted out the boardroom or whatever. They're like 27 of the highest rated like games in basketball in the last like 10 years or something. They all involve Steph Curry.
Yeah,
like,
this first round series at times has drawn the highest ratings in the first round since the 2002 Shaq Kobe Lakers.
And it deserves it.
Of
Because
course.
I think partly because obviously Sacramento has pushed you guys like crazy. Like they're making shots. They're playing fearless. Like, I mean, they'll throw anybody in the game. Trey Lyles will be a contributor. Like Alex Len will be there. Like even Malik Monk being like a closing time guy, going shot for shot with certain guys is just kind of ridiculous. But like they're pushing you guys. But I think obviously you guys still have that slight edge, and that's the most fun part about this whole thing, man.
I think you can always argue like maybe there's a better player than Steph. Like maybe you can always argue Giannis. You can argue LeBron. You can argue KD. You'll never win that argument, but you can argue KD. But I think you can never argue that the most entertaining guy to watch is Steph Curry, because I watched that Lakers game the other night and it was a good game. It was a close game, but dude, it was boring basketball compared to it was just boring basketball. Now you get to the end and LeBron makes a big shot and he's screaming all that, great. But it is boring, dude. Like it is not as entertaining as watching a Steph Curry Warriors team. And obviously I mean, the numbers reflect it. It is what it is. It's just a 6'2" dude just dropping in 30-foot bombs. It just, I don't know. Doesn't make sense. Never will.
Yeah. You know what Andy Lou is? Every time he comes on, he's like that rich, spoiled kid that you knew growing up. Because, like, he talks about the Warriors, and he's had this such long, sustained stretch of just success. Like, this guy not even stressed when it's 2-2. Like,
I don't even stress when it was 0-2.
I don't.
Man.
Yeah, I don't
Draymond
even.
suspended. It's 0-2, and he's like, "Yeah, they're gonna win the next 4."
You know
so
how LeBron's like, "I've never been in like this isn't an adverse situation." I don't even know the last time Andy Lou was in an adverse situation watching the Warriors. Man,
no,
legit.
My guy's in Tampa drinking with his uncle.
It's not a thing.
Like, this guy's never been stressed.
Let me tell you, I was stressed. It is always funny to watch the Warriors when they win. It's like, oh. You know, they're 3 times, like last season. It's like when they win against Boston in Game 4. That was the moment, I think, where I blacked out that game. I killed an entire bottle of Casamigos by halftime. But that was the game where I was just like, oh my goodness, Game 4, is this a Steph legacy game? It's funny to say that because he has 3 championships, but it feels like he has something to prove. That was like a truly stressful, this might be over. And then when they win, you're sitting there and you're thinking to yourself, oh, like they were always going to win. But in that moment when they're down 5 with 6 minutes left and Jaylen Brown hits a layup and the Boston crowd is going nuts, you're like, man, this is all over, which is what makes sports crazy, right? And why, like, Steph, I think, is probably the greatest Bay Area athlete of all time. I know your listeners probably won't know or care, but he is
better than Barry.
I think yeah, I think better than Barry. It's just Barry wasn't beloved, but
of course
Barry wasn't a winner like Steph.
That's fair.
I think Joe Montana, the 90s, it's been a while. And I think that's probably the best comp. But gosh, Steph might be. Yeah. My number 5 might be on the way, boys. Number 5 might be on the way. I'm going to ascend to a new level.
I'm not doubting. I picked the Warriors to make the final. I think we both picked the Warriors.
I think we both picked the Warriors to make the finals,
yeah.
man. We know better. All right, we can't keep you forever, but we do have like 3 more questions that we wanted to get to, Alex.
I wanted to ask you quickly too. We talked about all these dogs that are on your team. We haven't even talked about Kevon Looney, man. Like, I want to know, obviously, at the 22 boards, and like he's been putting up these insane box scores. Such a critical player.
Yo,
for
this guy
team.
has the wildest box scores. Every time you open the box for Kevon, it's 4 points. Yeah, 22 rebounds. It's 7 assists.
It's what Udonis Haslem gives the Heat in practice, man.
Yo,
like,
this is ridiculous.
Literally got those lines.
Yeah, he's got the best lines, man.
Like, is he like a cult figure in the fan base? Like, where does Kevon Looney stand? Like, obviously we know Steph, we know Clay, we know Draymond.
Greatest role player in Warriors history outside of Andre Iguodala. I don't even know if you can count Andre as a role player.
Right.
Throw Andrew Bogut in there. Bogut might be better. Sean Livingston in there, Mo Spates, David West, Leandro Barbosa. Throw all those guys in there. But Looney's actually great. Gotta take for you. You watch Kevon Looney, right? You watch him in the postseason, every postseason. And then you look at how much money guys like DeAndre Ayton and Rudy Gobert make. I'm just disgusted. Every postseason. I'm just saying, Kevon Looney makes $7 million, dude.
Yo, 7? Wait, what?
$7 million. Ayton and Gobert are stealing money.
Oh my God.
Honestly, Jordan Poole is stealing money on the Warriors.
No, come on. When he's good, he's good though. When he's good, he's good. But it's like once in every series.
Yeah. Once every series, exactly. Yeah. The dude makes $7 million, and he closes games on a championship team. Dude, he is. I hope his sponsorship money is insane. I know he's an answer guy because of Clay, so I hope China's paying him. Maybe you can go play in China when it's all over.
Get ready to learn Chinese, buddy.
Like Dwight Howard.
In the nicest way possible.
I love Kevon Looney. I think the fan base absolutely adores Kevon Looney. But the thing is, he's not like a cult figure in that. Like, he's not like a Bobby Portis who's like a cult figure. He's good. But when the chips are on the line, he doesn't actually play. Kevon Looney's actually good. And when the chips are on the line, he is out there, and he is stonewalling Sabonis, and he is grabbing offensive rebounds. I think SAC media and fans didn't realize how good Kevon Looney was because they were like, oh, Sabonis is going to have his way. And, Warriors fans have been through the wars, man, and you're sitting here, you're like, dude, slightly better David Lee is not cooking us. Like, that is just, it is not happening. It's just Stop it.
This is what I'm
I like
telling you, man.
Sabonis, but you're not winning a championship with Sabonis. You can win one with Fox, though.
You gave him D. Lee, man. D. Lee could score,
No,
They
Fox.
weren't giving D. Lee wide open jumpers in the mid range with like Kevon guarding the rim, like taking 3-second violations. I know they weren't doing that to David.
Oh, man.
NBA champion David Lee? No, not him. All right, I guess we have one more question actually. Okay, because I keep hearing this. So is this actually the last dance? Because it feels like Bob Myers may potentially leave. Like his contract's in doubt.
This man started a podcast
he's
as
doing
well.
podcasts. like what's going on? Can we explain this? Like why would you even contemplate leaving?
Listen, guys. The Warriors are an unserious franchise in the regular season. Just not a real thing.
That's
like
fair.
you said, Bob Myers started a freaking podcast interviewing J. Cole, while Kevon Looney and Draymond Green are like pounding through 82 regular season games with no limbs left, and Bob Myers just out here. Bob Myers gone. He's gone.
All right.
He's 1 foot out the door. I love Bob Myers, but he's probably either going on a sabbatical like me, or he's going to LA where Ballmer is going to pay him $25 million to just lead TechCrunch interviews and whatever. But I think he's gone. Last Dance, I think, completely depends on this postseason, which is a little bit ridiculous when you look at what happened last night. But if the Warriors end up, let's say they lose the next 2 games, or let's say what's, more likely, they go to the second round and let's say they lose to the Lakers in 6 or 7, or even like they go to the finals and they lose, West Finals, and they lose that. I do think there's a chance that Draymond's gone. I think he stays. The real question here, guys, is how are they going to fit these dudes if they can't pay the tax, which is why I think someone like Jordan Poole is gone. So if you tell me Jordan Poole is gone, does that mean this is the last dance? I'll probably say no.
Yes.
I think last dance just means it's Steph, Draymond, Clay, Looney, and Wiggins. Are those 3 guys plus those 2 great role players, are they still on this team? Because if they are, I think they're still good enough. But if they're going to trade Jordan Poole for like a couple guys to, one, get under money, get some promising guys, and then kind of just push some money down the line, I think they're still fine. My gut tells me Draymond's going to still be here. Just mostly because Steph is going to go to Jacob and say, if Draymond's gone, then see me in Charlotte.
Yeah, no one wants to see that, man. No one wants to see that. All right, Andy, we appreciate you. We're going to have more time for you when we eventually have you on the Banter Pod. We got to have you on the Banter Pod very soon, man.
Always, brothers. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it, man. Take care.
All right. Andy
Yeah.
Lou.
Best guest of the Raptors show.
I never even asked him about, you know when Andy's locked into the playoffs? When you don't see any pictures of K-pop stars on your timeline anymore, man.
I can't believe he's in Tampa. I thought he was like in New York or something. Like having a trip.
No, listen.
How is he deep in Tampa
I just
right now?
opened up his Twitter account. It's at Andy KHLIU, right?
Yeah, must follow, by the way.
When you see the K-pop star, you know you're in the right place. I'm not even kidding. And I'm looking at this thing, and the first video I see is him with his co-host Samus Vandiari on the Light Years podcast. And the title of the tweet says, Steph will need to be smarter with his minutes early in games. Subscribe on Apple/Spotify, which is a standard, link to, a show, right? And I'm watching the video, and Sam is just talking, and Andy is in a gray tank top and a ball cap, just drinking a Corona, like the whole bottle.
I think that's what he was dressed. That's what he was doing when he was talking to us too.
How is that related to Steph will need to be smarter with his minutes in early games? So anyway, Andy Lou, friend of the program. We've gone way too long without taking a break, so we're going to do that right here. I'm your host, Will Lou. That's Alex Wong. You're listening to The Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Welcome back to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. I'm your host, Wayne Lou. Continue to be joined by my producer and co-host, Alex Wong. Shouts to Andy. Lou.
Man.
Still buzzing. Still buzzing after that 5-minute break. Anyway, to wrap up the show, Alex, what do we have?
Do you want to talk quickly about the other games yesterday? The Knicks.
I thought you have a shout out here.
I will save those shout outs.
Okay, all right.
The Knicks beat your Cleveland Cavs and Evan Mobley.
My agenda is complete. Yeah,
that one's over. So we don't have to talk about Evan Mobley anymore.
I mean, you know, there's other relevant players to talk about in that series. Like I thought, Obi Toppin had a deeper bag than Evan Mobley. We don't talk about Obi Toppin like he's the next KG or anything. So
no, I'm glad everyone seems to be tampering down the expectations now. Finally,
that was beautiful, man. I watched that game too, man. So I was at Doc Ellis last night. Shouts to Doc Ellis, the bar, and I was there with good friends of the program, Josh Hart and my friend Dan, and we're just there watching hoop. And who walks in? Joe Wolfon. He's like, I thought he was invited to the same hangout because we're all friends. And he's like, no, I'm just here to see my brother.
Did he have a whiteboard? Was he drawing up plays?
No, he wasn't. But his my cousin also likes basketball. So we decided to meet up here. And we're all just watching these games go on. And the whole time, I'm like, the Knicks are just consistently up 12 points, no matter what. Like, the Cavs can make tough shots or they can make a stop here or there. They're just down 12 the entire game. And there was just no contribution for some of those guys. The team with 4 All-Stars didn't look like they had any. And, yeah, man, it's tough. But congrats to the New York Knicks. They play great. I think the key here, watching both of them and the Heat and the Warriors and some of these, pivotal wins, playoff basketball is so much different, right? Like, the value in offensive rebound in the playoffs is ridiculous. Like, it feels like a gut punch when you work so hard to get a stop, and then all of a sudden you don't get the rebound because, Josh Hart will fly in or Gary Payton will fly in from the weak side and tip it in. Or Kevon Looney's going to get another offensive rebound. Or I don't know, Caleb Martin runs in and grabs a rebound. I think it's about the other stuff that in addition to the fact that obviously you need a great shot maker like a Brunson, like a Jimmy Butler, like a Steph Curry. Obviously you need that kind of central figure, but you also need that supporting play and that toughness. And I thought that all series the Knicks out-toughed the Cavs. It wasn't even close. And Mitchell Robinson dominating them. Maybe we should talk about him as the next David Robinson if that's what he made the next Tim Duncan look like. So
yeah, Mobley gotta work on some things, but
offense,
he's still young.
Defense, shooting, handling, creating.
No,
the game,
people have been people have been drawing parallels, between the Knicks and the Leafs too. Seeing the Knicks win in that Game 5 in round 1. Hopefully the Leafs will do that tonight too.
Yo, can we celebrate the same way too? By the way, this is my hot take. All right, I know we had other topics. Forget it. We'll still get the last segment, but the Knicks are literally the Leafs of the NBA, right? Former glory in the '60s, historic franchise, biggest market, biggest fan base, but obviously tortured. Don't even win in the first round. All this kind of stuff, right? You saw when the Knicks won one game what they look like in the streets. We saw when they won Game 1 of the regular season what they look like in the streets. We saw when they went up 3-1 what they did. They shut down 7th Avenue. That'd be like if they just shut down Spadina tomorrow or yesterday.
We should do that when the Leafs win tonight.
Why don't Leafs fans celebrate the way Knicks fans do? Because Knicks fans actually just celebrate every single blessing they have because they know that it's never coming. Whereas Leafs fans are like, let me just see it before it happens. I think it really does speak to a difference in confidence between the two cities.
Oh, of course, man. That's a New York energy
actually has the swagger, and Toronto's like, I need to see it win first, and then we'll celebrate.
No, Toronto gonna win, and then have to get credit from every single other city.
No, here's the thing: both teams have that, but I think for again, Leafs fans take a cue from the Knicks fans. If I don't see somebody yelling "Bing Bong" on the street tomorrow, we failed.
No,
this is what sports is about. Celebrate your wins.
Yeah,
those are 3 of the best possible wins you can possibly get. I don't even watch hockey like that. You're telling me you beat a team 7-2, 7-1, and then you came up with 2 overtime wins? There should be a parade. You shouldn't be able to drive on Bloor right now. I guess you can anyway. But
still can't usually. But
be like Knicks fans.
No, I hear you. And now it's time for Between the Lines, brought to you by Bet Rivers. It's a whole new game. In Adam Silver's messed up schedule, there's only 1 game tonight after 4 games last night. And it's finally going to get to watch the Boston Celtics Atlanta Hawks series. It's going to 6. They had to move the Janet Jackson concert to tomorrow.
Yo, it's wild.
So this game can be played in Atlanta. The Celtics are 7-point favorites on the road. Do you like the Atlanta Hawks to force a Game 7?
Why don't you have more excitement for the series, man?
Okay, give me 3 things to be excited about.
Okay, first off, Trae Young has just obviously delivered like a really, really spectacular performance, right? In TD Garden, right? He literally hit the game-winning three.
Yeah, I can watch Jimmy instead. Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. You don't get the same joy watching him. But like, you know, this little weasel of a man somehow gives you 35 and 13 whenever he wants to. Okay, he's so slippery that the Celtics, with all their great defense, can't really contain him. I think also, like, what the Hawks have really done is they put a lot of players into great roles, right? So everyone really comes in, they're either athletic and they're crashing the glass, or they're switching and they're playing some defense, or they're hitting corner threes and guys are being aggressive. Bogdan Bogdanovic, I think last year, I've said his name on the podcast like 100 times. Well, let's trade for him. Let's trade a first-round pick for him. I'll be cool with that. Instead, they traded for Thad Young. I mean, who knows? But the point is,
not today.
that's a guy who it's like, he's super confident. He stepped up. Now you have Murray coming back. I mean, it's going to be tricky for the Celtics. However, I still feel like the Celtics are a way better team. And if they just like execute and actually, you know, play to their strengths, which should be attacking Trae Young defensively, they should win this game. But it's been very hard to predict this series, even though you know the Celtics are a better team. But I will take the Celtics. I will show them that faith. They're my championship pick, so I got to ride with them. But I'm not feeling so great about the Celtics. They're looking a little bit more immature.
Yeah, you know what? I'll ride with you. Celtics -7. And I think I'll enjoy this series too. The Celtics are really good at basketball. But like Andy Lou said, the Warriors are entertaining. I don't find the Celtics to be an entertaining team to watch. But that was Between the Lines, brought to you by Bet Rivers. It's a whole new game.
There we go. All right, that does it for us today. I've been your host, Will Lou, and you've been listening to The Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Make sure you find The Raptors Show wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe, and please rate and review the show. Reminder, we're streaming live on Sportsnet's YouTube channel and airing live on Sportsnet 360 Monday to Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. By the way, tomorrow, live in studio, Gary Trent Sr.
Yeah, unless he cancels, but
okay,
should be confirmed.
He's on record
Confirming
now.
at the moment.
So thanks again to Andy Lou. Thanks to producer and co-host Alex Wong, our board producer Derek Brandale, Frank Baraska for helping with the YouTube stream. We'll be back tomorrow.